Welcome back to JoJo's Bizarre Adventures Anime Review, Part 3A. This one reviewing the first half of Season 2 of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventures anime. Yep. And this one, now the whole season is basically an adaptation of the storyline of the Part 3 of the manga, Stardust Crusaders. Where am I currently in the manga? I'm at Part 5. I've read so far up to about 300, at least 482 right now, of overall for the whole entire series. But I'm only like I'm like about 50 chapters in right now for Part 5. In the case of all 8 parts, Part 3 is actually the third longest out of all 8 parts. The longest is the next one. Part 4, Time is Unbreakable. Now, in the case of this particular thing, these particular episodes are adaptations of chapters 114 to about a couple pages into chapter 181. That is roughly like, I think it's like 67 chapters. I think it is. Let me take a look here at that. Right now, it's pretty much like 6-7 chapters, but almost 68 chapters in to this 155 episode issue. I think it's 158. I think it is. Just checking this. Okay, it's 152 chapters. I was wrong. This is the third longest. This is actually the fourth longest. So yeah, basically going about 67 chapters in, that's actually good, which means the remaining chapters basically will be adapted for Part 2 over the course of 24 episodes. Now, each of these episodes in the range from 4 to about 3.5 to pretty much 4 chapters apiece. A little bit less than Part 2, but yeah. Now with this one basically taking place at least, I think it's like almost 50 years after the events of Part 2. I think it's like 49 years after the events of Part 2, which ended in 1939, just before the outbreak of World War II. Now, in the case of the voice actors, now, the dubcast, I watched that first for the first 15 episodes, and the remaining 9 I had to watch sub, though the 16 episodes of this season aired just this past Sunday, but I didn't get a chance to watch it. So I decided to watch it sub because the dub had not been put up yet. So yeah. So the main character, Jotaro Kujo, is voiced by Matthew Mercer. Now this is the third show I've actually seen him as a voice actor on. The first show I saw him on was Naruto Shippuden, where he played Captain Yamato. Yep, he was the voice actor for him. I've seen him on Hunter x Hunter as one of the entourage of bodyguards that was used for the Phantom Troop arc. I believe his character was killed off partway through it. Yeah, I believe it was. So this is the third series I've seen him on, basically, where he plays a character. Yeah. Then I played Joseph Joestar. Same way to play him in the previous part toward the end of it. But he's not worthy for playing, let's see. He played Batu from Ghost in the Shell Family Complex. I have watched the series. Let's see. He has my Hunter x Hunter. And that's really it. I've only seen like a couple of shows, but yeah. But if you wonder who Batu is, he's the big bulky guy who is the main character's partner. The main the main character of Ghost in the Shell is basically a female cyborg. A woman who basically is converted to a cyborg in a way, and Baku is a big bulky guy with the weird looking eyes, and that's who he voiced in that one. Now he did make the first time he played Jonathan Joestar at the end of Part 2, the previous season, because the end of the previous season did set up this part where Jonathan Joestar shows up in Japan, and pretty much, it's like one page. It's like a few pages into basically the start of chapter 114. Like Dio being brought up for the ocean floor, Joseph coming to Egypt, and Jotaro basically seen in a jail cell. And then pretty much this picks up like not long after that. And it's explained the reason why that Dio was able to stay in that coffin for a century and look perfectly fine is because, well, it was a special made coffin, and basically, I think it's the original JoJo's body. Yeah, which I'm trying to think of his name. What is his name? The name of the character. I know it was played by Johnny on Bosch in the first season. Let's see. His name is Jonathan Joestar. Yep. And we have Joseph Joestar, who was the grandson of that one. And Dio, whenever you see him in here, and he's seen for pretty much most of the dub episodes I've seen dubbed, and he seems like around the first 10 episodes, and he disappears for a long while, and then shows up again to the final episode. Now, what does he look like in here? Well, he's shirtless, wears baggy pants, with straps down, and boots. I'm like, dude, can you put on a shirt? Keep on a shirt, but there's a reason why he doesn't wear a shirt, because he's in Egypt. Yeah. And pretty much this whole thing is basically, the first half of this is basically the gang going to Egypt. Now, pretty much now you get a chance to slowly get a chance to see the allies. Like in the first episode, you get a chance to basically Holly Kotaro, basically Jotaro's mother. His father is never seen in it at all. Apparently, Jotaro's father is a Japanese singer who basically is on tour. Yeah, and her mother and Holly has lived at this point in the manga, at this point in the series. Now, the series takes place in 1987, which is basically the same year the manga originally came out in real life. And this manga, when it was printed, the manga came a period of 4 years. So yeah, there's that. So she goes to free her son from jail. He says no, because apparently this is where he gets used as a stance. They're like these energy beings, and his is basically later named Silver Platinum. Yeah, it's this big. It kind of looks like him in a way, but he's like painted different color. It's like the same size. And also, now I should point out the animation style is very similar to that of the manga. I mean, much more closer to the manga than the first two parts were. It's kind of like, it's not exactly like a motion comic. The opening theme is like that. I'll get to that in a few minutes. But it's very similar in style to that of the manga. So, out of the 3 parts so far I've seen, this is the one that actually sticks much more closer to the art style of the manga than the first 2 parts did. Even though it's the same studio, David Production. Yep. Now, here are the other characters. Now, in the case of Nakaru Kainen, basically played by Kyle Herbert, he's actually introduced roughly by the next episode. Yeah, he is. Yeah. And this particular scene, when you first see him, basically, of course, Jotaro is basically going to school, being followed by admirers, which I'm thinking, man, dude, you are a handsome guy, and you have a half dozen women who want to be with you, and yet you think they're annoying. Yeah. These half a dozen drop-dead gorgeous women who only appear for this one episode. And also, there is this female nurse that they identify as nurse, basically it's a doctor, who basically treats Jotaro's leg wound. Like, she was going to cut up his pants, like, no, that's not necessary, I'll take off my pants. Yep. And then, of course, she gets possessed by Kujin. Basically, he's, of course, later revealed to be possessed as well. And the way he possessing her almost causes her to almost strip in the place. This, of course, right after she indirectly kills 2 people. Yeah, one by stabbing one in the eye with a frickin' pen. The other one, I think she stabbed in the neck. And it seems like she's almost like coming out of her clothes. Yeah, she's like shaking like crazy, like her coat's coming off, her shirt's coming undone. Yeah, same thing happened in the manga. This is basically no change at all. Heck, they even kept in the part where Jotaro basically get the stand out of her by kissing her. Oh, and by the way, this character never appears again at all. Not even the manga this character appears. It's like it's kind of like in part. It's kind of like the previous part. You have this interesting character, this unknown character, never named, pops up for one episode, never shows up again. Anything in the manga pops up for like one chapter, never shows up again. either because the writer just didn't care, or he just didn't feel like giving him one. Also, I should point out though, Jotaro has no love interest at all. No, seriously, he has no love interest. And at this point, Jotaro is 17. Basically, he's around the same age as basically his grandfather and his great-great-grandfather. Great-great-grandfather when they first start out basically fighting bad guys. Yeah. That's just basically the way it is when it comes to him. And unlike the other ones, basically, first two where there were similar looking attires, now Jotaro basically, and he has this thing where he doesn't speak very often, even to say he does the same thing in the manga as well, where he very rarely speaks, and yeah, seems like he's very antisocial. Neither in the manga nor the anime so far has bothered to explain why he's like this. But I've heard a theory. This is how 80s action heroes kind of act. And of course, in this particular thing, because it takes place in 1987, we got to throw in some 80s music. Okay? So we got Crusaders Introduced Episode 2. The thing in his head, it was actually like a little, like a parasite put in his forehead. And Jotaro used his stand and removed it, and he became an ally to him. And then, I think it was 2 episodes later, when the French guy got introduced, I think it was. Yeah, it was a flesh bud, is what they call it. Yes. Let's see. Okay, now Jean-Pierre Pantra, basically, who becomes one of their other allies. The first one they introduced in the first episode is Abdul. Yeah. In the dub, he's voiced by, if I can find him here, he's voiced by Chris Terrific. I don't have any information on this guy, so there's that. The guy who voices Patrov, who basically speaks a French accent, was by Doug Ertris, who, let's see, he was in Bleach. He played Geen. Yeah, he played freaking Geen on Bleach. Let's see, who else did he play? Played some Digimon on, oh yeah, he was also one of the voices of Keisuke Ohara for a few episodes. And let's see. Oh yeah, he was voice of Ashima Saratobi. So for this guy, this is my 4th series I've seen him on. Yeah, 4th series. So Digimon, Bleach, Naruto Shippuden, and this show. This is actually the 5th show I've seen this guy on. And usually speaks with normal, very clean, speaks very good English. But here he gives the character a French accent. He doesn't do the wee type of thing that the people tend to think the Frenchmen usually speak like. It's very normal French. It's not stereotypical French. People tend to parody a lot. But yeah, it's French. Now, I should point out though, Jotaro is not speaking with a Japanese accent. He's speaking normal English, which is that's odd. Heck, even his mother's like, oh yeah, in the first episode, you speak very good Japanese, even though she's speaking English. Yeah, it's quite bizarre, to say the least. Yeah, Iggy has not been introduced yet. I haven't seen him yet. He's voiced by Derek Stephen Prince, who basically, this is actually another multi-series character I've seen him on. Yeah, he's been on Bleach. Let's see. I think he's Bleach, Naruto Shippuden. Let's see. He's been on Digimon. He's been on a bunch of series. Heck, this guy even voiced Elgar from Power Rangers. Yeah, so this is by far. I think this is the. For anime, I think this is the 3. I think this is the 4th anime I've actually seen him on. So yeah, another one basically where it's 4 anime basically for this guy. That's actually pretty good. The fact that basically it's like that. Let's see, we have Dio, same guy who voiced him in the first part. Yeah, the same guy who was second voice for Kapachi Zaraki and Keisuke Ohara, who voices Frankie in One Piece, who also voiced let's see. He voiced a couple of characters on Naruto. Let's see. He also voiced, I think he voiced Loxus, if I'm not mistaken, on it was Loxus or Ganju on, oh, yeah, it's Loxus. Yeah, he voiced Loxus Dreyer. So, yeah, He's another one of those multi guys I've seen. I heard his voice credited as, and I've only heard Dio sub so far only once. Yep, and that was in the final episode. Holly is voiced by Julie Ann Taylor. Yep, Julie Ann Taylor is the one who voices her, and she's probably the first one. Well, she was on Bleach, basically playing, I think probably some filler characters, but yeah. And she's also been on Hunter x Hunter, which is another series I have reviewed. And that's it. So basically, like, for her, this is probably my third series I've seen her on. So basically, pretty much almost everybody who's on JoJo's Bizarre Adventures so far, I've had experience, basically. I'm actually familiar with their work, basically. Some of the work they've done, but they've done much other credits, but I've only watched a few of them. Yeah, and we also have various different stand users. Now, they said there was about 8 stand users overall that was sent to get these 5 guys. And some of these stands are a bit bizarre. Like, one host is basically an orangutan, and his stand is a freighter. Not kidding, it's a freaking freighter. There's one called Wheel of Fortune, and his stand is basically possessing his car. Yeah, and his actual look of his car is a piece of junk. And what this guy looks like, he has his big bulky arms, a beer belly, and he's freaking tiny. I'm like, seriously, what the heck is this? There's one stand user who is an 11-month-old baby, and his stand is Def 13, and they don't kill this one like some of the other ones they do. And I think his name is Karakuna, yeah. The way they defeat him, like after he gets defeated, he gets punished by, of course, he had just taken coin number 2, so the guy punished him by feeding him his own number 2, putting his baby food, which is quite disgusting. It was a punishment for him for trying to kill him. And of course, this baby has got vampire fangs. Not kidding. Also, there's this little girl named Anne who basically popped up for basically about 9 episodes. Popped up in episode 32, made her last appearance episode 41. I have seen all of her appearances. Yeah, she essentially put a minor character. She, I don't know who voices her. I should point out though the nurse who from episode 1. She's also from Bleach, and she also did a voiceover from part 1. She voiced Lisa from the previous season, so they brought her back for this one episode, which was fine. I don't remember who actually voiced the runaway Anne. They don't specifically say how old she is. She looks like she's about 12 years old. There is a scene where they have her basically take a shower, and this is something I'm kind of glad both the anime and manga did. They just show her rear end. They didn't show her naughty bits. Didn't show her chest or her groin area, which thank God they didn't do that, because that would have been very inappropriate to show for a little girl. I guess rear end is okay. And I'm glad the fact that the anime followed the manga when it came to this. They just showed her rear end. I guess that's acceptable, or at least okay to show, but to show the fact she's naked, because, well, they do have, and oh yeah, and she has a crush on Jotaro, which I'm thinking, a 12-year-old girl have a crush on a 17-year-old? That's a bit bizarre. Yeah, why would she have a crush on a guy who's like 5 years older than she is? Yeah, and one point she mentioned she likes him. Yep. And after the first part of Justice, she's never seen again in the series at all. She never returns. I thought she was an interesting character, but yeah, there's that. And they go to various different places. They go to like, well, the first they go to Hong Kong, then Singapore, India, Pakistan, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and then finally Egypt. Basically, of course, the next part is all entirely in Egypt. One of the stand users they face off against is actually the one who killed Petrov's sister years prior. He's called Centerfold. He kills him, and then of course, basically, he gets a chance to meet the guy's mother, who wants justice, and of course, her stand is called Justice. So pretty much by the end of the first half of the season, they've already defeated 6 of the 8 stand users. The last one that they defeated just in this last episode was called High Priestess. They never did show a full good view of the woman's face. They showed it's a woman, which actually this is the third stand user who actually is a woman. Yeah, there's one stand user actually not defeated by, but not killed by any of the other people. This one's the Hangman. This one just runs away and gets killed by the stand user for Justice. Yeah, she kills him for abandoning her son. And it's a bit gross out moments here and there, but it doesn't go over the top of the gore, which I'm kind of glad the anime doesn't do that. Anime does have a reputation at times to go a little over the top of gore. There's one particular anime I know for a fact basically has had a reputation for years for doing this, and that's Violent Jack. Yeah, the gore in that was way over the top. Yeah, and that particular anime is considered the most controversial anime of all time. And I have no plans to do a review series of it. I have watched it, and I can see why the fact the series is referred to as the most violent and the most controversial one, because there's stuff in it that I've heard not to talk about here. But yeah. Good first 24 episodes. I am going to watch the next 24 as soon as I put this video up. But yeah, that's it for this particular part. Stay tuned, probably either tomorrow, possibly, or maybe Thursday. Depends when I get a chance to finish these 24 episodes, though tomorrow's also the comic day. Where I finish the second half of the season. Stardust Crusaders Battle Legion. Online on the wiki site is referred to as this particular first half, Stardust Crusaders Road to Egypt. Second half is Battle in Egypt. So I'm going to basically put in the description Stardust Crusaders Road to Egypt, basically, because it's about their globe trotting going from Japan to Egypt. Basically, the thing ends with them entering Egypt. All right, and they go to and they try to get there various ways. They go by plane. They go by at least 2 boats, a dune buggy. Well, that actually get in the last episode. An expensive car, camels. They use almost everything except a train. A train is the only thing they actually do not use at all. Which I'm like, that's a little odd. Because out of all, they use a freaking sub. It's like they use almost every single vehicle imaginable to go there, except for a train, a motorcycle. Yeah, most of the known vehicles at this point to use, which I think is freaking amazing. I love the sub that they use for the last couple episodes. Basically, yeah, this is basically a sub. This is not a mini sub. This is a sub basically according to the show. According to my purse, it's for basically people who are very wealthy. It's for the super rich. Yeah, look at this sub. This looks like it was really expensive. It looks like it probably cost if look today, probably $100 million for this dang thing. And it's half the size of the nuclear subs we have nowadays. Yeah. But I keep thinking, yeah, they also never use a helicopter. They never use that. I'm like thinking, it seems like the only major form of transportation they never used was a frickin' train. I'm like, why couldn't they use a train? It's odd. Alright? Yeah, so that's really it. Stay tuned for part 3-8 for Stardust Crusaders Battle in Egypt. Okay? Until I see you on my next video. Bye.